Quasar by David Royce. Someone could have asked me what the fuss was all about. As far as fusses went, this one was pretty minor in my opinion. You had the Angela Marquette fuss. Now that was a fuss for the ages. Angela was an easygoing girl with a laid-back attitude. She was also hella beautiful. And when she won the Miss Teen Beauty pageant, my lord, people reacted like she was the Antichrist. I guess in a small town like Salvation, Michigan, a Latina woman winning a crown like that was like fisting an old white dude. Other fusses included Sean Declan being found out for his proclivity towards 10 to 14-year-olds. Sean was popular and the community surrounded him with their defense, even as his alleged victims suffered and refused to even step outside. Michael Robinson had his fuss. He owned a popular toy store. His main concern were the toys he made himself: puppets, dolls, and mannequins. One day, he decided to go outside and give a most unique and perverted, according to eyewitnesses, puppet show right on Main Street. Yeah, fusses were a part of life here. But the fuss I'm talking about happened back in the year of our Lord 2020. 2020 for those of you who prefer numbers. That was the same year Gina Henderson almost killed Mayor Ralph Hendricks because he'd been cheating on her with Marla Devereaux. Yeah, that was a pretty good fuss, all told. But this fuss was over a cat. Well, a kitten at the time. Salvation, Michigan loves its animals, except for the werewolves, which haunt the surrounding woods once a month, though that's a different story altogether. This incident involved a kitten, a girl who loved it, and a boy who despised it. Now, why would anyone despise a kitten? Some answers are best undiscovered, I guess. But I can tell you, the kitten felt the same way towards him. Sarah Conrad was 14 years old at the time. She loved two things: her family and her boyfriend. Sounds innocent enough, but is it really? When someone says, "I only love two things," that indicates a person who is too wrapped up in their little world. There's a lot of things to love in this world, and only picking two seems a bit unsettling to me. Despite that, Sarah did love her family. Her mother, Darla, and her father, Delbert, were her inspirations, a couple I've had the privilege of talking to on many occasions. They were a great fit, Darla and Delbert. Always arm in arm, always aware of each other's presence in a room, at a party, or what have you. There was no hint of infidelity or division. Sarah also loved her boyfriend, Rob Harnett. He was handsome, athletic, and popular. Just what you wanted when you were a junior in high school, waiting to make your mark in the world. She doted on him all the time and made it very clear that he was with her. The fuss wasn't sufficient at that time. Nothing untoward happened. Hell, as far as I know, they never, cemented their relationship in a physical manner. Not that that would have mattered in the end, but I'm just saying. Sarah was out walking one day, nothing in particular capturing her attention, when she heard a mewling just off the road. That kind of sound either drives people to run or makes them listen, and Sarah was one of the latter category. I wish she wasn't, but if wishes were fishes, they would float away. At least that's what my mother said, though I still don't know what she meant. Anyway, Sarah went into the woods looking for the sounds of the mewling, and she found it. A kitten with its almost skeletal body next to a tree, hungry, thirsty, and malnourished. It was digging at the ground for worms or anything edible. Sarah, in all good conscience, couldn't just leave this kitten to live, or die, like that. Its mewling grew in intensity, and its head painstakingly turned her way as she looked upon it with love. Now, I've been a dog person all my life. Don't ask me why the human species has to identify itself based on their preferred pet, because I don't rightly know. But I can tell you that despite my fondness of man's best friend, I would have given that kitten a home just as Sarah did. Now, how could you not? Sarah scooped that skin and bones feline up in her arms and cooed in its ear all the way home. She smiled to herself because she knew she was doing the right thing. And then, as all good horror stories say, well, shit went sideways. Oh, she got the kitten home all right, and she cuddled with it, fed it, and even bought all the necessities a kitten would need. That should have made one happy cat. Rob, her boyfriend and perhaps future husband, didn't see it that way. The kitten growled when he was around, no matter how much he tried to accept it. And let's give him credit, he did. His love for Sarah had him bringing over catnip, toys on strings, and special treats. Yet the kitten rejected his offerings like an angry god. Well, pretty soon, Sarah started to pull away from him. The way she saw things was that if her kitten didn't like Rob, something was wrong with him. Because how could a kitten, who had accepted her so easily, have an issue with someone who was trying to befriend it? Sarah's thought was, it must be Rob. And things only got worse from there. The kitten grew into a cat, a fine specimen if you ask me, though nobody did. She had named it Quasar. Now granted, that wasn't my first choice, but then again, it wasn't my cat to name. Quasar grew into a perfectly healthy feline. It had a blonde fur which appeared almost golden when it ventured out during the day, the sun reflecting its radiant hues for all to see. And it took to most of the folks around town. They kept it satisfied with morsels of pork, chicken, and beef. A finer life for a stray I couldn't imagine. It never accepted Rob, though. Every time they would meet, the atmosphere filled with tension and an almost unspoken agreement to despise one another. Sometimes the cat would come running home limping in pain, but at other times, Rob would stumble into his apartment with malicious scratches about his arms, face, and neck. Sarah sided with her cat. It had never, in all these years, shown any kind of aggression towards her. Neither had Rob, as far as I know, but that didn't seem to matter. When Sarah finally broke up with Rob, a battle line was drawn. He insisted the cat was evil, sent by the devil himself. She held Quasar in her arms as the cat looked on in confusion as she wept and insisted Rob had done her wrong. Rob was vicious in his attack. As I recall, he planned it from the beginning, which meant he had an awful long time to do so. Yeah, but Quasar was just as cunning, having the same amount of time. What do you know about an all-out war between a man and cat? And I mean a war. I'm guessing very little. That's okay, though. Something I never wanted to see and something I never want to see again. The duel started in a dusk-filled field, which otherwise would have been filled with a beautiful array of trees and flowers which always dotted our landscape. Painters beware. Both Rob and the cat were armed. Rob with a combination of a chef's knife in one hand and a baton in the other. Quasar with its claws and teeth. They met in the center of a field, the moon shining its most illuminating light. Both participants circled the other. I don't know how the others felt, but I watched intensely as the two combatants swayed and faked lunges at one another, sizing each other up. A near miss here and a near miss there. If my recollection is correct, and I believe it is, it was Sarah who eventually swayed the battle. She strode between them and gave them both a harsh look. Both reacted to her presence. Rob lowered his weapons. Quasar laid down, his claws and fangs retracted. Sarah stared them both down, one to the other. Rob, I love you. Quasar, I love you. But if this doesn't end, I request that you both kill me instead. I will not be put in the middle anymore. That was a fine gesture, I'll admit. Noble, I get it. But it was all for naught. There was a brief pause between combatants. They eyeballed each other and they turned their sights on Sarah. Tension hung in the air like laundry on a clothesline. The gathered crowd murmured softly. Quasar took only a second or so to react. Rob took 2 seconds more, which were 2 seconds too late. The cat attacked. Quasar attacked his face first, the claws digging into his flesh. Rob's eyes were the first to go under the fury of claws. The cat opened him up like a balloon. Blood and other viscera flowed even as Rob attempted to stab at the cat. All useless efforts. Quasar was a blurred ball of fur and fury, twisting and writhing as he continued to attack, claws and teeth ripping and tearing until Rob was an unrecognizable stain on the ground. Even then, it continued to attack, showing no mercy nor regret. A furry bundle of hate and revenge ravaged Rob's still remains. When Rob was nothing more than a skeletal mess on the ground, Sarah approached Quasar. She scooped the cat gently in her arms. His fur was now crimson, and pieces of flesh were dangling from its claws and whiskers. Everyone took a breath. What was Sarah going to do? She held Quasar at face level, staring into his eyes. Her arms were shaky and tears welled in her eyes. She had loved Rob as much as any girl could love at that age, but her love for this cat was a bond beyond human understanding. As she allowed the tears to fall, she brung Quasar to her chest and stroked his blood-stained fur. As she wept, he purred in response. As the gathering crowd collected shovels to dig a grave, an unfortunately common occurrence in this strange little town, Sarah and Quasar started to walk back to her home. Quasar accepted the love and the bond it had with this person, a kind of bond which couldn't be broken, one in which he would do anything for her. The request from earlier to kill her rang in its ears. They would do anything for her, anything at all. And kill her? Oh, it would do that.